Hey, Jim here from K2 Concepts, shooting a quick video on touch-up. Let me preface this by saying that I'm by no means any airbrush artist. I know very little about the craft. I do plan on going to a nice a nice school. I've got my eyes on the one by Drew Blair. I think that's where I'm going to go. So as soon as I get some time, I'm going to fly back there and take that course. I definitely recommend you guys knowing as little as I do about airbrushing, but seeing the potential. I think you need a little training on it. Anyhow, that being said, what we're going to do is we're going to use an airbrush today. Now, you guys can use nice artist brush, a real fine artist brush. I recommend this Createx paints, line of paints. They're water-based. If you mess up, you can just rub your thumb on it, wet your thumb, rub it, and the paint can come right up. So you can use a nice fine brush. I've used a little bit of activator in the same colored film. The problem with that is you guys have to remember that the activator is activating the paint, and if you mess around with it too much, what's going to happen is it's going to turn into a big mess. So the biggest thing to remember if you're going to use a brush, even an airbrush, is just enough to take the customer's eye off the base coat. That's all you want. Don't try to mimic the pattern too much. You're going to drive yourself crazy. Okay. So we're going to be using the Majai little airbrush. This is kind of a really close copy to an Iwata Eclipse. These are being sold by Andrew over there at Emerald Coatings. If you haven't seen his new line of paint guns and airbrushes and stuff, I suggest you stop by his website if you're up there in Canada. All right, the thing to remember about these is you got to take this little tip off. This little tip is a comb, and if you take that off, then you're going to get a much finer, tighter spray pattern, for detail work. So I definitely recommend you do that. Get a little stand. You can use, I hear a lot of people, it's got to be a dual action. That brush is a dual action. This is just kind of like a mini HVLP gun. I like this style for me because of working with sheet metal for as many years as I did. I've got arthritis, so and carpal tunnel and all kinds of ridiculous stuff in my elbows, and it's really tough for me to maneuver the dual action airbrush. These seem a little bit easier for me just to pull the trigger on and go, and you can get a nice fine detail. You get like a 0.35 or a 0.30 in one of these single pulls. It's just fine for touch up. So the artists, I'm sure they'll disagree with me and blah blah blah, but for me it works. Okay, so anyhow, with this, you guys saw my symmetrical carbon. We had a couple of voids. Had one here, and then we had one down here. I'm going to go after the low-hanging fruit. I'm going to touch this one up first. It's really easy. What you want to do is get some kind of transparent vinyl. These are sheet protectors I bought over at like Staples or Office Depot or whatever. They're clear, and I just cut them up. Now what you're going to see is, can you see that right there? How I cut them up in small squares. Just took a X-Acto knife and cut some small squares about the same size as the carbon fiber. Okay, now you want to use clear because you got to see where you're at when you're detailing. If you use like a piece of paper or cardstock or something like that, you can't see where to maneuver or to line up your pattern. So you want to use something clear. X-Acto knife, cut small squares. You can even lay the pattern on top of it and mimic the pattern that way. And this will probably work for any kind of different, twigs and flames, whatever you guys want to do. So, that being said, I'm going to change the direction of the camera real quick. A little Corona for the haters. Hey guys. All right. You guys can see that. I've got my airbrush down around 15. I've tried it. A lot of guys like it at 30. I don't particularly care for it. It seems to blast too much paint too fast for me, and just me. So I've got this thing down around 15. And what I usually do is keep a little rag on hand. You can kind of test the pattern, kind of see how fine you can get it. That's a pretty fine line for an airbrush. So I like this airbrush. What we're going to do, we're going to come over here. Got too much stuff going on here. And then I always keep a microfiber cloth with a little bit of cleaning solution on it to kind of clean up the tip. They say you shouldn't use paper towels to clean these tips off because the fibers will get stuck in the needle itself, and so I'll respect that. I just use it to kind of, you'll notice sometimes it'll clog up, so I'll just spray a bunch and then make sure I'm getting a nice pattern again, and then wipe off the excess. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and put this down here. And that's kind of how I touch them up. You see it? There's it. Yeah. Now if I wanted to get a little more finicky, what I would do, maybe alright, well, so that's how you kind of touch up carbon fiber. And obviously we're doing this on the fly, but you can get quicker and quicker at it as the time goes on. Or you can just use a normal paintbrush. Take a little bit of the paint, put it on here, and you can use the same template. Now these things, once they load up like that, with a little bit of paint on, just grab some airbrush cleaner, throw it on a rag, you can wipe that off and use it for the next time. Okay, that's just a quick overview. Obviously I'm moving along quite a bit to get this to where it's comfortable, but that was the Medjai from Emerald Coatings, and you can visit them they're up in Canada. Nice little brush. It's a cool little brush. You know, it comes apart, the needle inside there where the trigger is a little bit different than what you're normally used to if you've taken it apart and eclipsed before. They're a little different, but nothing you can't get the hang of. So again, that's it for this one. That's Touch Up. Join us on the forum, k2forums.com. Any activator supplies, guns and such, k2shoponline.com. If you have any questions, you can email me at k2forums@gmail.com. And I think that's it for this one. Hope you guys are having a good day dipping. We'll talk to you later.